because together we evolve. Together we may learn something.
People and groups, and that's awesome. I'm excited.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Access 360 podcast. I couldn't tell you what episode this is. It's probably 10, 11, 12, one of those numbers. And if it's not, no big deal. But we've been doing this for a little bit. We say this is the place where leaders and ideas and other things come to evolve. And Brian May was actually at a cameo on the intro video. So that's fun. We've got Wayne Masterson here as well, who's a GC in Florida, but has a thick Boston accent. And we got a lot of fun dynamics going on in this particular podcast. I think we're going to talk about real estate, building, business, and probably some other fun topics as we go along. Let me go. Brian May, how are you? Welcome back. You haven't been to the podcast in a little bit, but you know, it's like old hat when we get together.
Absolutely. It has been a while. So many things have been going on. I recently got married. I was traveling in DR. I've been busy with work stuff. So there's been a bunch of stuff going on. So it's good to be back.
Congrats.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
not a small deal, right? Like we just had a conversation and it was like, whoa, okay. Like didn't know you were getting married and here we are. How does that feel? Is there an afterglow or how is it?
It feels great. It feels great. My wife is in DR right now, so she's coming next week. So far, so good.
Amazing. Amazing. And just as we're kicking off a conversation for the listeners that may be here, who are you? What do you do? Give us a real quick kind of overlay so we've got a little context.
Sure. My name is Brian May. I've been in real estate for a long time. I work with Ryan Serhant in Long Island, or shall I say on Long Island, like everyone else here says. And I was in Florida for about 5 years, but most of my history has been New York.
Amazing. Well, welcome to this fun conversation.
Thank you.
Mr. Wayne Masterson, we've become good friends of late. We met maybe 6 or so months ago and just kind of hit it off, and we've been on some adventures together, different events together. We do some networking and business building together. There's a lot we do. How are you today?
I mean, it's a sunshine in South Florida day. There can't be too much to complain about. I'm chatting with you, buddy. I'm getting to meet Brian May. I mean, what could be wrong in the world right now, my friend?
Life is good. The future is bright, as Patrick Bet-David might say. What
Nice
we
plug.
went to that event. So Wayne, give us a little high level too for the folks at home. Who are you? What do you do? What's your focal points?
Yeah. So I'm a GC. I've got a bunch of licenses here in Florida. I've got a bunch of general contracting licenses throughout the country. I have also another part of my business is restoration work. So I do some consulting, leveraging the licenses. It might sound like you always get it though. I sound like I'm from Boston because of our pal Grogan, but I'm actually from Rhode Island. No, that's not a place in Long Island, Rhode Island, for anybody, May don't get excited up there. But yeah, man, that's about my story. Just living the construction dream. I like my building is usually higher end luxury homes or commercial stuff, creativity stuff. We've got an interior designer on staff, so creative stuff, not like the boring come in and smack some stuff around and get out. So yeah, that's my story.
We've got a bunch of Islanders in the house, Rhode Islanders, Long Islanders. I'm from Long Island as well. And if anybody's tuning in, I'm David Rush, the Chief Operating Officer of Access Virtual Staffing. We find incredible virtual assistants from the Philippines and Latin America and bring them to small businesses here in the US to help them just optimize, grow, scale, and remove some of the bottlenecks and burdens that a lot of leaders and their teams face as they build and grow business. So here we are. What should we talk about? Brian
Hey, but
May.
before you get into that, I do have to say one thing though. You're talking about access virtual staffing, and I just want to throw out there that all I hear is how much you've been helping people, including myself. So before we get on to it, I just got to give you a little plug there.
We'll take plugs. We like plugs. We like to plug holes and take promotional stuff as well. Thank you, Mr. Masterson. Let's what should we talk about? Let's talk about business optimization. Maybe we'll start there. How are we approaching business, optimizing business? Mr. Brian May, you've kind of been around and done a lot of things, and I know you've kind of actually that might be an interesting one because you spend time in Florida, you spend time in New York. How do you manage all of that?
The good thing is I don't really have any business right now in Florida. I love going there, but I don't have any business right now going on over there. I do have some business in Maryland, and I have people there that I'm partners with. But to answer that question, I usually have partners when it's in a different area. I think that's the best way, so they have skin in the game. Um, And then I have used your services as well, and I have, it's been great the last couple times. I don't remember how many people I've used from you, but it's been awesome. And so as far as business optimization, I mean, what part of the optimization are you really talking about?
Well, I think, as we're in a real estate conversation, a construction conversation, maybe just how you're looking at your business as you move forward. Like I think some of the biggest challenges for all of us as leaders is time management, making sure that we're working more on the business than in the business, a lot of people
Yeah.
will say. So how do you kind of look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a strong calendar, a strong CRM, very important right now, very important these days. I sometimes tend to do more old school stuff like pen and paper. I think that's important I know this is going to sound very elementary, but I think it's very important to have a notebook with you with a pen everywhere you go. If you're all digital, that's great. I like to see everything like I almost look at it like you're in a movie and it's an FBI kind of thing and they're trying to track the killer. I like to look at it all on the board. I sometimes find the phone. I still double book myself if I'm not really have it on pen and paper. And as far as in and on the business, I do think it's about hiring the right people. It's about getting in there, hiring the right people, and you still have to put out fires, but it's about not getting so involved and really just like delegating.
Yeah, no,
I
I've got
mean,
the pad and the
yeah.
pen right here. I'm kind of old school. If we walked into your room, would there be pictures with like thumbtacks and strings and like
No, but I wish there
stuff?
was. I
Yeah,
wish there was, but there isn't. But I think, with what Wayne's been talking about and what Wayne does, I mean, construction, right? Every day is a new fire. Literally, if he's doing restoration, every day is something new. I mean, and I think that for contractors, because my mentor's a very big contractor, Marshall Wilkinson, and it's like for contractors, it's so easy every day to get sucked into the business. It's like you can't help it. And before you know it, you're like in there and then you're not pushing it forward.
yeah,
Very
so
true.
true. Wayne, come on in. How do you think about all of that, getting sucked into the business versus on the business? And I know you love to do the things too. Like you love to be part of the building, but also sometimes you got to take a step back and do that 20,000 foot view.
I gotta tell you, that's probably the hardest thing for me right now. And we've really been doing a lot of business growth recently. I've been putting more of an eye on it. I've always been a construction nerd, not a business nerd. So it's two different things to grasp. So I've got a team that's helping me grow. And it's a wild ride. You think construction's wild, it's definitely interesting. I'm learning a lot. Talking about fires, I feel like I'm drinking from the fire hose. It's also as firefighter. I think I'm a firefighter. I think I'm a politician. I kiss babies, and I'm constantly putting out fires. metaphorically, of course. But yeah, it's definitely learning right now. I wish I had a ton of experience and could give you better advice, but I'm in it now, learning it, deep in it.
Well, I think it's interesting, even no matter what echelon of, let's say, business and leadership, like if you're growing and you're pushing, there's probably all kinds of new things to learn at all times. Like we've built our business right now. At least we've got the piping and the train tracks to run on, but now it's how do you grow, how do you scale? And when volume increases, that causes all other kinds of challenges that now you got to hire the right people. If you don't hire the right people, now you reset to another game that you got to figure out. Like how do we do this at scale? And that's not easy wherever you are, whether you're just starting out or whether you're well into it. And now it's how do we go from where we are to 2x, 3x? And what if it were 10x? Could we handle that? And would our business continue to kind of press forward? Brian, what's going on? You want to give a little like real estate update? What are you seeing? Because I know there's I just heard that rates went below 6% for the first time in like 4 or 5 years or something like that. Like what's happening in the real estate market?
Yeah. So, just to circle back for 1 second, I think another part of the business, and not every business needs to do this, but a lot of businesses do, and especially being in real estate, being a realtor. I mean, look, like Ryan Serhant is more of a media company than a real estate company. And I think that doing all the business stuff. And now on top of it, you have to be like an actor and you have to be funny and you have to do skits and you have to have a crew and you need a camera thing and which lens. And all of a sudden you're like your own Netflix thing and everyone's doing this. It's like I have enough problems with just the business and negotiating and contracts and the bullshit that's going on, but now I also have to be, Conan O'Brien. And so I think that also is an element there, and not everyone does it. I know a lot of contractors that really don't make too much money slash too many new clients from social, but I do know a lot that do. So that's like another element of it. As far as like the updates in real estate, you know, the bottom line is this. People talk about the country and people talk about rates, but wherever you are, there's different pockets. And so I think that sometimes when people just look at the country, yeah, it's great. Like basically, if you look at the country, they say, hey, there's all these people trying to sell their houses. There's not many buyers, and the rates are going down to try to entice buyers to come on. But if you're on Long Island, well, it's the exact opposite problem. No one is selling their houses. Everyone wants to buy. There's feeding frenzies. There's bidding wars. I've been to a couple of open houses in the last couple of weeks slash couple months where it's a conga line out the door. So, where Del Rey, they can't even sell most of their new constructions, right? Now there's some, and then, Del Rey is a good example because then there's some, Wayne, I don't even know which town or city are you in?
I'm in Palm Beach, but I was actually in Delray is where I started my journey.
Oh,
So I had to come a little northwest as the business was growing to have enough land for equipment and be able to grow my business. So now I'm actually a little further west in the acreage, West Palm Beach.
got you.
But
No, because
Delray
like
is my
just
stomping ground for sure.
okay, because like just for example, like with Del Rey, just because it's like been on my mind, even though the new construction aren't moving that much, I'm sure you know that, there are some high-end buildings that are sold out. So it's like even within one place, depending on the product, and of course Florida has a gigantic problem with buildings, right? Like every building, the assessments, is it going to fall down? Is it, you know, there are some places in Florida where people are selling their condos for $1 because they can't afford the assessments and what's included with all this stuff. Of course, the insurance. So I think to answer your question is there's a lot of updates, but the real question that you need to ask is where do you want to buy? What are you trying to accomplish? And where are you? Because what's happening in the country might not be happening in your backyard.
Yeah, I think there's obviously specialized nuance to wherever you are. So to say, hey, here's the broad sweeping, this is what's happening universally, like that usually doesn't apply certainly to the micro areas and localities of the geography. You pointed to something also before at the beginning of your comments there, Brian. And one of the things our company is embracing, and Phil, our founder, is really leaning into, is this book called Endless Customers, and it speaks to what you were talking about, the way in which we build our brand for our business. You talked about the camera crews, but we're looking at that, like, how do we communicate and become an authority figure in the industry and spaces that we're in, such that we are a known brand. If AI is, people are searching on AI for us, are we popping up? But also, how do we speak to customers about things that really matter to them? And what one of the points of the book is how do I tell the customer exactly what they want to know versus like avoiding saying, hey, this is not our price, or we don't want to talk about price, or we don't want to talk about the specifics of our business. And the point the Endless Customers book makes is, no, you got to do that. You got to say the things that other people aren't willing to say. And sometimes that's actually, and in general, it's more attractive when you do provide that transparency, when you do provide, hey, we're not perfect, but this is how we're operating, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we do business. And sometimes that's a differentiator. So I think that's a fun point to think about too, because in this day and age, sometimes brand is so important. How do people get to know you? So, Wayne, what do you think about all that? Because I know you've got some good website branding. I love the Masent logo and things like that. When you think about your brand as a GC, what are you thinking about? What does Masent represent for you?
And it's we've been working on it, and no matter what, I feel like I'm always behind. Kind of like Brian was saying, it's like it just when you cross a line, you're already behind. It's like technology. The second you go buy a new phone, the second you open up the box, it's already outdated. So you have to constantly be on your toes. You have to constantly be learning, updating, adjusting. I mean, it's similar to life, right? Life throws a bunch of curveballs at you. You always have to be on your toes, and you have to always be moving forward. So, you know, I, my style is maybe I'm a lifelong learner that since all the licenses, but I'm always open-minded. I'll always see other things and kind of put it together and put my spin on it. Um, so that kind of helps. But I did, when Brian was talking about real estate, though, I wanted to pedal back for a minute because, something I've noticed in your, I'd say, average type home, um, it's very wild to me that I see down here in Florida, you could go rent a $1 million condo on the water cheaper than you could buy a $500,000 home with the mortgage. And even though the rates are coming down, that doesn't make any sense to me. Is there any, nobody has been able to say, maybe it's a deeper conversation, but I don't understand it. And I've been seeing that. Also the selling the condos. I don't know the law side of it. I never had to look into it. But once the HOAs, the law that passed, all the reserves, where the reserves were kind of getting checked, and whatever X they have to have in the account, it put a lot of people in your average level to have to put into that reserve that they were forced to sell. And I think that put a lot of stuff on the market too. I don't know. Have you noticed that, Brian? I know this is more your kind of
Definitely. I
thing.
mean, look, even my dad's in a 55 and over community. It's not a building, it's a community. And I believe even in his community, there's different pods. So it's like there's different reserves for different pods, and there's some pods that don't even have enough reserves. But like I lived in Boca for a while, and a two-bedroom, two-bathroom right now is like dirt cheap. I mean, it's like you can get a two-bedroom, two-bath in a very nice place for 21, 22. You can do 2,500. When I first went down there, I was living in Boynton, but on the water where what's the name of that place? Oh my God, I can't remember. But it's like there's two restaurants right across from each other. Um,
I
right
know
on
exactly what you're talking about.
right on the intercoastal. So I was living in one of those high rises over there. I was paying 28 and very happy. But you can get, like you said, you can, and a lot of wealthier people or higher end people, whatever you want to call them, they are renting because it's a fixed cost. If the HVAC breaks, it's not your responsibility. And listen, there's people in Miami and there's people in New York City that are renting things for 100,000 a month, 150,000 a month. It's a fixed cost. Something breaks, it's not my problem. Just you take care of it.
And I think it helps with taxes too. It's a if you're writing off the entire thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So, but no, there's definitely some problems going on over there, but I think that for the most part, people, especially middle class, like a real strong middle class, which New York, they just came out with and said 86% of New Yorkers, which is an extremely absurdly high number, 86% of New Yorkers say New York is totally unaffordable for a regular family. So 86%, and they're probably not wrong. It's probably should be 100%.
I'm
Wow.
gonna I'm gonna do something that I never do, right? And just ask about politics. Now that you have some new leadership in New York City up there, maybe not, you know, that I remember looking, and when that was announced, there was a statistic somewhere that the search for South Florida homes increased by like 1,100%. So have you seen a shift in the market since that political
You,
change has gone
you
underway
know,
up
I don't
there? Or?
know. It's funny you ask. I don't know what the real numbers are. I think a lot of people are searching. I think a lot of people are searching. I think that, look, if someone has a job here, it's not so easy to switch their job. And so it's fun to look. What I have been seeing, and since I'm right here, I've been noticing a ton of people selling their places in Queens and wanting to move to Long Island, right? So because Long Island doesn't have to deal with the mayor. I think that when you get paid $30 an hour to shovel and have to give three different proofs of ID, these things kind of happen. People get pissed off. And, what happens really is in Brooklyn, I've been doing Brooklyn real estate since 2007. And it's like there are many minority groups of all colors, shapes, sizes that are homeowners in Brooklyn. So when people come out that are in politics and they're like, oh, well, we're raising property tax by 9 or 10%, whatever the number is today, you know, this affects everyone. And I just saw they're interviewing people that are homeowners that happen to be minorities. And it's like, listen, to own a house isn't white supremacist. These people are not white. They own homes. They're getting raised 10% and it's messing them up. And this is not what anyone voted for. This is not what they voted for. And the people that voted are extremely pissed.
I mean, you say New York City, I think Mecca, like the OG of melting pot, right?
Yes.
I mean, the friggin' Statue of Liberty is there, bro. Like, like it doesn't get much more melting pot and diversity than that, as far as my opinion. So I hear you, and I agree. I think it's a little wild. Do
I think it's
you know?
ironic. I think it's ironic, Bay, that Wayne, that you said Mecca, because
Yeah.
that's an interesting connection point as well. The unifying, the melting pot, and sometimes where do we face, right? So with that, I think it's relevant though. I think it's challenging. I lived in New York City. I moved down 4 years ago, and one of the main determinants of that, which was part of the push, was I lived in an apartment across from a hotel that became a homeless shelter, and then all of a sudden there were homeless people on the street, hypodermic needles, people screaming at 3 a.m. And that was in essence some kind of policy decision that made that hotel go into that direction during COVID. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And it was a nice nudge for me to come to sunny West Palm Beach, Florida, and enjoy blue skies and cool breezes and warmer temperatures. And I'm not disappointed in my decision. So it's interesting to think about where some of these decisions come from, and how it's impacting people, their livelihood. And I think we get a lot of talking points too, whether it's left or right sometimes. And they're just trying to create a lot of hostility amongst people, and they're not always accurate, and there's intentions behind them. So I mean, how does that, let's go there a little bit, Brian. Like, how does that impact how you see some of the like way people do business with one another, in the sense of, is it like, hey, if I know your political views, might I not want to buy a house with you? Like, how does that, do you see that coming up from time to time?
I think it could happen. I think it could happen. I think that it depends, listen, what I've been noticing, and I'm not sure if I agree with this or like this, but what I have been noticing are business owners, and I'm just going to include salespeople like realtors in there or insurance people in there. Business owners, salespeople, they're playing into it, right? So it's like, hey, I am the spiritual realtor. I'm the right-wing realtor. I'm the woke realtor. So there's also that people are playing onto it, because it's like, hey, I'd rather this group of people really, really like me. I think that most people are doing business like I didn't know who Wayne was 10 minutes ago. Now I know who Wayne is. If someone calls me and says, "Hey, I'm looking to build like a crazy new construction," right? So, okay, well, I know this guy Wayne. Like that person just wants their house done. I don't know if they're really going to care. The other thing is they're in Florida, so they're probably going to care even less of what's going on, right? So I think that it could happen. I think that when these large companies, like really large companies, kind of play into it, you know, I don't know. I liked it better when people who sang, people who acted acted, and I didn't know what Robert De Niro was really like off the set. I loved him when he was just on the movie screen, and I thought he was the man.
It's well, it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and the political landscape in which I now am surrounded by versus what it was in New York for me, significantly different. I feel a lot more comfortable sharing my views in different capacities and things like that. And I'm not pushing in one direction or another, but it was interesting. We just had the USA hockey team win the gold medal, and a lot of people were using it for some kind of political thing. Brian, do you know Jimmy's famous seafood? Have you heard that name recently or know anything about it?
No, what is it?
It's so,
I know
uh,
you're like a crazy hockey guy, so
yeah. So the Huffington Post put out an article that was kind of like questioning the way in which Team USA men's team handled the call from President Trump and all these things. And Jimmy's Seafood responded with some choice words. It was GFY, more or less. And it
What does
led
that mean,
to,
David?
yeah, yeah. It means go find yourself. Go find
Okay.
yourself. Make sure you know who
Oh,
you
okay.
are.
So there are a couple lost guys. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a pull for self-awareness. And so inside of that, that post went viral. But what I'm pointing to here is actually a friend of mine. She said, and we talk about this in marketing, is like sometimes you want to be a little more niche. Like, this is who I am, this is who I love to work with, or this is the market and community that I really love to serve. And that can be highly valuable in business, so that it's like I'm not just far and wide. Like, sometimes we look at that for Access Virtual Staffing. We can source all kinds of candidates and all kinds of expertises. However, we're starting to really get focused on some buckets. Have you looked at that in the real estate space for yourself? Like, Brian, is that something that you think about, like, who do I serve, or how do you look at it?
I definitely think like who do I serve? Like I was just having a conversation yesterday with a partner of mine as far as like the avatar we want to go after for social media. Like if we want to go after people who are moving to Florida or people that are looking to sell and then buy, people that are upsizing, downsizing. I think it's more like that. I heard the Trump phone call. I thought it was amazing. I mean, I think that, listen, we live in a society where everyone's going to complain about everything. We live in a society where everyone is very weak and everyone loves to just be a victim. So everything that everyone says is going to be a problem for them. But I'm very happy. Jack Hughes, he's Jewish. He has an extremely hot girlfriend who I think is a great singer, Tate McRae. I think that they're doing great. I heard that people didn't like that Trump made a comment about bringing the women's hockey team. I mean, what we did we forget how humans are created? I think that that's a great thing to bring the women's hockey team. I didn't have a problem with it. I'm sure that they're great women.
Yeah, and now there's some women on the women's hockey team who are saying this is all just great. Like let's support USA. And yeah, if there's a comment that people might have been a little turned left by or right by or whatever it is like that's not the big picture here. And if we're gonna
No.
start to microdose on micro comments, it's here it is, Brian. I'm gonna pull it up. This was the post that I was talking about. So Huffington Post said, if waving the American flag or chanting USA turns you off right now, you're not alone. And Jimmy's famous seafood posted GFFY. But if you look at the views, the Huffington Post got 13 million. Jimmy's got 17 million. But if you look at the likes, I was looking at this, it was 1.9 thousand likes to 253,000 likes on Jimmy's seafood. So that's
I don't think this is honestly like really macro level. None of this is new. There's always been people that were, with the Vietnam War going even further. I mean, from the time this country was created, there's always been people that are have a problem with certain things that America does. I have a problem with certain things America does. If you like every single thing that a corporation, a government, or even your best friend does, that's very strange to me. There's going to be things that you disagree with. I'm sure that if Wade and I hung out, there'd be many things that we agree with, but then all of a sudden we get to what's your favorite food and we disagree. Like, oh, not Wayne, I can't be friends with you because my favorite food is pizza and yours is Chinese. Like, okay, we can't be friends anymore. Like, that's just
We
so
can
dumb.
because I'm good with both pizza and Chinese, unless you're talking about seafood. That's when we won't be friends anymore.
Got you.
Well,
Got you.
here's the thing, and what I can comment on is I think the two of you guys would get along very well. I was out with Wade on Wednesday night, just having a well, it was our business group, and we were just having a little evening gathering because a lot of times we meet on Zoom, and so it was in person. And Wayne's a fun time. Wayne, what's your take on this last piece of the conversation? And then, yeah, why are you such a fun time too?
I mean, well, first, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. You originally told me to go find yourself, but then that's clearly not what I read. But I do agree with it all. It's wild if you agree with everything, and we're kind of dabbling into politics and all that stuff. And I'm a believer in the Donald, but there's things that I currently that he's been doing that I feel like have affected my business. I think that there's, construction as a whole, not just me, has slowed down a bit. I think a lot of it is blamed on him, but I think a lot of it is the backslash of Sleepy Joe a little bit, and now by the time he's here to get things in order, he's trying to do it so fast and so hard that it's just scaring the shit out of people. Everybody's on pins and needles. Nobody wants to spend money. They're afraid. You got the news talking about recession every other headline, and it's like that's not good for my business at all. I know May, you said up on Long Island, you guys are crushing it, but from what I've seen throughout the country, I think it's more like Delray and Boca where things are sitting on the market, and which is wild because the class that's usually in that area doesn't get affected by these things, which is even more a little odd. South Florida, I don't want to say and use the word recession, but it's almost recession proof with the wealth that's down here. So it's I don't know if that exactly goes to where we were going. And fun time, David. let's be honest here. I was drinking some tequila, so that adds a little layer of letting loose. But
Yeah. Well, actually, I was gonna point to that earlier in something you said that you may not have realized that it landed for me, but I think it's such an important point for us as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as business people. You said something, and I may not have all the words, but it was, during the day, like I'm so dialed into the business that at night I really need to like turn that switch off and find ways in which I can just let my mind breathe, whether it's relaxing, creatively, being with people, or I like what you said. You were like, sometimes I just look at my yard and I move a rock about like 3 inches, but because I think like I found a better place, but it's more just an experience of your artistic eye allowing it to be free. How do you look at that?
yeah, you're pretty much on point there. But so back when we had the hurricanes out here, I've always been a bit of a motorhead and liked cars. What is it? Fast cars and fast women? No, maybe that's not PG enough. But boats. So anyway, I got some equipment, skid steers, excavators, dump trailers, and I've messed around in them before, but after that, I've really kind of grown a liking to it. I was never into video games, but that like hand-eye coordination of being in a machine, it just soothes me. I find it fun. If any job site that like I can, if I'm having a rough moment and I'm about to, you need to, especially in a hot industry like construction, it's not, people can get tempered easily. It's like, okay, let me just get in the machine for a second and move this rock. And it's like, okay, again, like for construction before, it would be the end of the day, the mindless thing of sweeping a floor is just soothing and going back, yeah, I think I've regraded my yard at least a dozen times. I've been like, this day is awful. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go change that by a quarter inch because why the heck not? But to the point you're saying is yes, like I've I've done a lot of things and I've burnt myself out before, and it's a tough thing to learn to know when you need to throttle back a little bit and not let yourself get burnt out. Because if you do let yourself get burnt out and you don't take a little woosah time or time to do something you enjoy, recovering from that getting burnt out can crush you. So I think for anybody, it's very important to find a middle ground. And that doesn't mean be a slouch and hang out on your couch and eat potato chips 24/7, but crush it, but have something that you enjoy too, even if it's a part of work that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Switch it up.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
think
think.
that's,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, Brian. Yeah.
No, I think that, you touched on something at the beginning where, things are sitting longer, people are taking longer to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that I'm even noticing it where it's more than follow-up. We always talk about follow-up in the sales game, in the business game, but it's really a nurturing environment right now. And most salespeople are like fast-paced. I'm even really like I'm good at follow-ups, but I really figured out I'm not so good at nurturing. And really, really nurturing. This lady that I work with, Kat Davis, is amazing at nurturing. And she's closing deals from people she met a year, 2 years ago, and just really keeping on top of it. And that's what you need to do because, you know, let's just say like housing, just to make things simple. If I want a new construction in Delray or even in Palm Beach or Miami, they all kind of look the same. They all kind of are the same. They all kind of are in the same price range. So it's like, well, which one am I going to get? Well, if someone's calling me consistently, not every day, not being an annoying person, but just calling me consistently, and I've built now a relationship where I know this person means business and I know this person's going to do the right thing. Well, I will buy the new construction or the house that this person shows me and recommends to me over something that's probably the same because this person has showed that they're not just in it to get a deal and move forward. You know, they're in it to really build this game. And I think that that's very important. And I think that as far as like construction goes, Florida versus New York, I've heard this a million times and I agree that New York has better contractors in general, the workers, and I think that people in Florida, there's a lot of people that take the money and run. There's a lot of people that do very nasty, unethical things. And so to show the customer base that you're not like that, you do need a branding, you do need public awareness, and you do need this nurturing to be like, hey, I am not going anywhere. The reason you know that I'm not going anywhere is because I've been talking to you for a year now. Because if you read The Real Deal, which is like the number one real estate magazine for inside real estate stuff, people are high-end buildings, like $1 billion building, $100 million. People are taking the money and going to different countries, leaving. I mean, it is absolutely bananas.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
you just hit so many topics in one spot that my head is spinning. I feel like Zach Galifianakis. Oh my God, I can't even say it. When when he's got the meme and there's the codes and the
Yes.
string because you were talking about nurture versus follow up. Well, this is where we can't be friends again. We found another one. The nurture part, I am phenomenal at. It's, and I think also part of it is when you're doing construction or consulting for somebody, you spend time with them, so you get to know them better, and then you can prove yourself. When it comes to follow up, I am terrible. I've been going to networking events, and actually, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to see if you can see this on the camera. So this is the past couple weeks of cards that I've grabbed that I have yet to follow up on. And I'm like, part of growing the business, I'm now getting to a point where I'm implementing some CRM tools that I didn't have before because I just my head was on the construction, not the business side of it. And it's just like everything else, it scales and balances. So now I really have to, get that balance. And then the other thing that you mentioned was Florida GC versus New York GC. And David, I don't know if you know this, but I actually lived in New York City for a couple of years. I was over on, was it 54th and Broadway, I think, like that Midtown Hell's Kitchen area.
Yeah.
I lived in a hotel that was probably bigger than an apartment. I had some projects. I was out there for 2 years, so I literally lived in a hotel. It was a massive, probably 700 square foot hotel, but it was nice. And it's way different now. But being in construction out there is just people are efficient, they work hard, they get done. Everybody's always going to try and fuck you no matter where you are, right? We know that. There's not that many honest people around, but Florida GCs are probably the worst. And this is David, I think I mentioned this in one of our networking groups, but when I was transitioning from being Mr. Corporate America to owning my own business, a big push for me was my doctor. I got my GC license here in Florida, just to hold, because it was something I wanted to do. And my doctor called me up and he's like, Wayne, I'm opening up a new practice. I I hired a dude. I call him pickup truck contractors, and he burned me about 150 grand. I can't. I got to get this practice open. I'm losing money every day. Can you help? And I'm like, at this time, I'm still working a corporate America 9 to 5. It doesn't exist. So 60-hour work week. And I'm like, Doc, I got you. And I got his office open for him. And that was a big growth point because people, were going through the office, and it was a concierge medical office. So it's the clientele that I work best with. And it just kind of grew from there. Oh wow, Doc, this place is awesome. Yeah. Oh, you never believe it. My buddy Wayne, he really bailed me out on this. And it just blows my mind. I have another customer that I'm consulting for, doing my expert witness stuff on construction defects. And it's an older couple. They're in their 80s or so. They're up north. I don't know if they're in New York or Connecticut, but somewhere in our old hood, your current hood, Brian. Um, and they hired their son's friend that didn't even have a license. They used a friend's license, paid him to use the license, took him for about 300 grand, totally messed the place up. Then they had to hire another person, took him for another 400. And now the house is still a shell. And I'm not talking a multi-million dollar home. I'm talking about a $600,000 house that they were adding a master bathroom and suite onto. It is wild what goes on down here.
Yeah. It's amazing how it's like you want to do good business, and sometimes that's challenging because we'll get some, the industry or the type of business may get labeled, it, unfortunately, based on some bad actors, and that can just cause a lot of, call it, need to overcome objections or mental states that make it really difficult. So we're going to wrap up just because we're at the tail end here. I think the nurturing comment is such an important one. So maybe what we'll do to wrap this up is the final comment will be, what's one practice or tip that you have for how to nurture a client, or how you nurture a client? If I were talking about some of the ways in which we do that, as a staffing business, we don't just find people and then throw them and you to the wolves. We check in on the back end with the virtual assistant. We're continually checking in with our clients to see how things are going. And that's kind of how we like to put in one of the places where we can build relationship. We're always looking to see, can we support? Can we help? Front end, back end? Do you need something else? Is there a SOP we could help with? Things like that. That's kind of how inside of the business with our clientele we nurture. Let's go, Brian. How do you, like, what's one thing you do that you kind of intentionally nurture some of the relationships you have?
Yeah, one of the things that I love to do is try to have them follow me on Instagram and me follow them on Instagram, because this way I'm already posting about my life. I'm already posting about real estate. They're hopefully already posting. They don't have to be daily posters. I'm not a daily poster, but okay, like we can comment on each other's stuff. I can like it. They see my name, and it's like this. I hate newsletters. So it's like it's just a nice way to be like, okay, we're staying in touch. You see that I'm a real person, and then if something happens, right? Like meaning they have a birthday, they have this, they have that. Well, now I could reach out.
And how does someone find you on the gram?
Bryan.may, Bryan.may. Thank you.
All right. Get on the gram and follow Bryan.may. Amazing. That's actually a good point though, right? Like that's one of the ways our relationships continue, even if we're posting or we see what somebody else is posting, we're actually getting to know each other, even though it might not be that belly to belly in person at a meal. It's another touch point. And they say the more that we can touch people and they can touch us and we can be social, like that's why social networks, like one of our good friends, Peter, he would say, yeah, but be social on social network, like actually engage with people. Wayne, what's one way in which you nurture relationships? I think you shared a little bit of that already, but what's
Well,
one thing that stands out for you?
I'm a little insulted that you have to ask because it's obviously my good looks.
Yeah.
No, no, but you know, again, spending a lot of time with people. We were in a group the other day, and you remember there was a part something about who you could call at 3 a.m. And once people get to know me, business, professional, friendship, they get to understand that I'm that guy, you know, and just knowing that, oh, well, boom, call Wayne. And I'll take a grand plug too at Masent LLC.
Yes, yes. Get on the gram, find Wayne and Masent LLC on the gram. But that actually both of you guys, like I was gonna say, Wayne, like you definitely occur to me as someone who I could call at 3. And you remind me of a good friend of mine, Eddie from he was from Boston and also, well, not also because you're from Rhode Island, but he was from Boston at a thick Boston accent. But he was the kind of guy. I remember the movie The Town like he walks in and it's like I need you to come with me. I can't tell you anything about it, and we're gonna hurt some people. And the guy was just like, "All right, whose car are we taking? Mine or yours?" And there was no question about it. But Brian, as I say that to Wayne, I also, our friendship has become one that's really just valuable to me, and I feel like similarly you're that kind of guy, like, and I'm sure people see you as that, that I don't even know about. It's like, yeah, if you need some support, like Brian's gonna be there for you. So that's a cool way to end this conversation. Final thought, Brian.
No, thank you very much. This was a great one.
Awesome. Any final thoughts for you, Wayne, before we wrap up here?
Hey, forget about it and don't worry about it. You get the car, I got the excavator. We'll dig some holes. Any problem you got, we'll take care of. How about that?
That's it. You got a problem. We got 3 problem solvers here. And this was a fun conversation. So